Alright, students, welcome once again for a new English lesson with teacher Adonai. So, you know what? In this lesson, we're going to learn about how to use used to express past habits. Okay, here you have the agenda. We're going to have the introduction, used to, the awesome 80s, the awesome 80s or 90s. So that's why you're listening to this type of music. Do you like this? Yeah, probably, right? And then we're going to have a reading comprehension, then grammar and practiced. And finally, we're going to finish the lesson with homework assignment. And also, allow me to tell you that we're going to have the evaluation criteria for the laboratory 3. And this is going to be available in the platform, okay? So let's get started, people. Here we go. The awesome 80s or the awesome 90s. What comes to your mind when you read the awesome 80s, people? Yeah, right. So probably you might think about fashion, cars, video games, probably transportation or music, etc. Okay? Probably you remember when you were a child in the 80s or in the 90s. But honestly, I would like to say that personally the best decades for me was the 90s. I did a lot of things. I had fun when I was a little boy. So, um, I would like to ask you a couple of questions. The first one is, what cartoon did you used to watch when you were a child? One more time. What cartoon did you used to watch when you were a child? I bet that you were one of those children who used to get up very early on Saturday mornings just to watch your favorite cartoon, weren't you? Okay. The second question is, did you used to play with marbles or kites? One more time. Did you used to play with marbles or kites? Okay, I would like to share some past habits that I used to do when I was a child. Okay, I remembered every weekdays at noon and after school, I left the school running because um, there was one reason. And the reason was that I didn't want to lose my favorite cartoon. Possibly you will recognize which cartoon I'm talking about. Surely this one is going to be familiar to you. Well, I'm talking about Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, right? I used to watch it. I remember that while I was eating lunch, I watched it. Goku, who used to be a very curious child, with a tail that identified him as a Saiyajin, did a lot of interesting things, okay? And then, now that we are talking about in the same page, I would also like to mention another favorite cartoon, The Night of the Zodiac. Exactly. Listen, when I was a child, I used to watch the episode because at nights with my friends used to act out the episodes. It was very funny, but now no anymore. As you might know, back in time, children used to play with toys that today aren't very popular. For example, marbles. I used to play with friends on the street in front of my house. There, I remember that my mom used to call me to eat dinner, but I didn't want because I was playing with my friends. So my mom sometimes pulled my ear until we were at home. I used to cry for that. Another funny thing that I remembered and I bet that it's going to be familiar to you, it's about ways of communications. Ways of communications. In math class particularly. And somehow these math classes, were not funny at all. They were complicated. Listen, my classmates and I used to communicate in class using chismograph or sometimes pieces of paper. We used to gossip in class, but we didn't pay too much attention to the math operation. Another thing that I used to do is playing video games. And this platform game, Super Mario Bros. From the old school, I know. Yeah, I bet that you used to play that video game more than once, didn't you? Alright, people. The awesome 80s or the awesome 90s. It's interesting when you talk and when you remember about your good memories, right? Keep going, people. Now, since we are talking about Juice 2, we're going to have this part. This is the reading comprehension. Okay, I'm going to play this reading, well, the audio of the reading for you to listen clearly. And after that, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Okay, here we go. The awesome 80s. Okay, pay attention. One, two, and three.
Today's blog is a walk down memory lane. Were you a kid in the 1980s? What toys did you used to play with? What did you used to watch on TV? Did you used to watch cartoons Saturday mornings? I used to love She-Ra, Princess of Power. I collected the toys and acted out the stories with my friends. It's hard to believe, but we didn't used to play video games then. A puzzle called the Rubik's Cube used to be very popular in the 1980s. My older sister Linda carried out one in her backpack all the time. She and her friends used to have contests. She didn't win very often, but she loved it anyway. This is my mother, dressed for work. She used to love suits with big shoulders. She said that made her feel strong, like She-Ra, Princess of Power. She used to call this one her power suit. My brother Gary and his friends had a rock band. They used to practice in the garage. They never used to study. Gary used to get some strange haircuts. He's a lawyer now, and he lost his hair.
All right, people. Now this is your homework. The first homework, your homework assignment. Here we go. After that we listen to the audio, I want you to answer true or false based on this statement. There are 7 statements, okay? The first one is Sandra didn't watch TV on Saturdays. Number 2, she played video games a lot. Her sister Linda played with Rubik's Cube. Number 4, her mother worked a suit to work. Number 5, her brother's band practiced in the garage. Number 6, her brother and his friends study all the time. And the last one, her brother likes strange haircuts now. Alright students, this is going to be your first homework assignment. I want you to check once again the reading out for you to answer true or false. And then you are going to use this information, upload it in a document and send to the platform, okay? Let's continue. This is about grammar. Used to. How to use used to. Notice in the first chart, it's about affirmative sentences. In this case, you're going to maintain the structure just to, with all the subject. It doesn't matter if this is singular or plural. You're going to maintain the same structure. For example, you said, I used to swim. You used to swim. He, she, and it used to swim. In the plural form, say, we, you, or they used to swim. Okay? Notice another important thing is that the verb swim maintains the same structure. You're going to use the base form here. Why? Because used to has a preposition. And after a preposition, the verb is infinitive. So that's why we say I used to swim. I used to swim. Keep going. In the second chart, you have negative form. In the negative form, you are going to use the auxiliary didn't. Okay? Didn't. Repeat after me. Didn't used to. Once again, didn't used to. Great. Now, a whole sentence can be like, I didn't used to swim. I didn't used to swim. She didn't used to swim. She didn't used to swim. In plural form, we say, we or they didn't used to swim. Great. Here, people, you're going to maintain the same structure. It doesn't modify anything. Okay? Notice another important thing is in affirmative sentence, you are using used to with the suffix s, with the suffix d, but in negative form, you're going to omit. Why? Because you are using the auxiliary didn't. So that's why we say you didn't used to swim. Okay? Then we have just no question. In this amount of sentences or interrogative sentences, we have the auxiliary did, used to swim. So we say, did I used to swim? Did you used to swim? Did she used to swim? Did we used to swim? Okay. Then in the answer form, we say, yes, I did. In negative form, we say, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Terrific. Continue. Now I'm going to say about double H questions using used to. The first one says, what did you used to watch when you were a little child? One more time. What did you used to watch when you were a little child? Okay. There you can see the double H questions. Then you have to place the auxiliary did plus the subject. It doesn't matter. Remember, singular or plural. Plus just to. And finally, you are going to use an infinitive verb. Watch, play, played, and study in these four questions. Now repeat after me. What did you used to watch when you were a little child? Next, who did you who did you used to play with when child? Next, what games did you used to play when you were a little child? And the last one, how did people used to study in the 80s? Alright, there you have something about grammar using used to. Keep going. Now remember, you look at here at this man. His name is Peter. Okay, listen. Peter doesn't travel much these days. He prefers to stay at home. But he used to travel a lot. He used to go away 2 or 3 times a year. And then we have the explanation. He used to travel a lot, which means he traveled a lot often in the past, but he doesn't do this anymore. Okay, then we say, I used to play tennis a lot, but I don't play it very much now. Explanation. I used to play tennis in the past, but I do not play tennis very much these days. In questions. Remember auxiliary plus the subject, and then you have to place used to, and then the infinitive. The example. Did you used to eat a lot of sweets when you were a child? Great. Negative form we say didn't used to. Didn't used to. This is the formal way. But if you want to say it in an informal way, we say just not to. Just not to. Okay? For example, I didn't used to like him. I didn't used to like him. Or the informal way we say I used not to like him. I recommend to use the formal way, which sounds very professional. Okay? keep going, people. This is the first exercise. As always, you're going to attach this document for a new document Word, and then you're going to send to me. The first sentence says, last month I rode my bicycle to school. Now I don't ride my bicycle to school. What you have to do is this. You're going to rephrase the sentence but using used to. Used to. For example, I used to ride my bicycle to school. But what about number two? 10 years ago, I studied Japanese. Now I don't study Japanese. You're going to paraphrase this sentence and use used to on it. And in the same dynamic, you're going to complete the 8 sentences. Great. Next, second exercise. Here you have double H questions, and they are using used to. The first one, what games did you used to play when child? You're going to answer. Give your personal opinion, give your personal answers. What hobbies did you used to have 10 years ago? Number 3, what favorite toy did you used to have when you were a little child? Next one, back in time, how did people used to communicate? I'm sorry, back in time, how did people used to commute? Next one, number 5, how did people used to communicate long distances before social networks? Number 6, how did El Salvador used to be in 20 years? Next one, let's see, next one, how did people used to entertain before the internet era? Next one, how did people used to get information before internet was invented? Okay, continue. Right here, people, you have another reading comprehension. In this reading, people, I need you to read along and then let's see, we are going to play the audio. Let's see, give me a second, please. Okay, I'm going to play the audio for this reading comprehension, and you are going to identify 6 more mistakes. As you see here in the first one, the first example is given for us, and then you are going to identify the other 6 mistakes. Okay, read this journal entry about high school reunion in Timmins, Ontario. Timmins, Ontario, a small town 500 miles north of Toronto. There are 7 mistakes in the use of used to. The first mistake is already corrected. Find and correct the 6 more. The high school reunion was great. I talked to Aline Edwards. Well, she's the famous Shania Twain. Now, in high school, she used to be just one of us, and tonight we all called her Aline. She graduated in 1983, a year before me. Today, she lives in a chateau in Switzerland and models for a Grapeland. But her life didn't used to be like that at all. She used to be very poor, and her grandma used to make all her clothes because her family couldn't afford to buy them. She was always a good musician, though in fact she used to earn money for her family that way. She performed with a local rock band, and my friends and I used to call her Heard. She could really sing. Her new name, Shania, Shania means on my way in Ojibwa, her stepfather's Native American language. After she left Timmins, I got used to think that Timmins wasn't important to her anymore. But I was wrong. She's always doing good things for our community, and tonight she was just the way she used to be in high school, simple and friendly. Okay, now you're going to rewrite this paragraph, find the 6 more mistakes, and send it to the platform as a homework assignment. Keep going. And finally, people, the last exercise or the last task you're going to do is write a paragraph where you have to describe how was your life in 20 years ago, using just to describe past habits in your 10-line paragraphs. You may start like, I used to have long hair, now I wear hair short, and then you can complete your paragraph. 10 lines, okay? 10 lines. I think that this is all for today, people. We're going to see this information in the platform. Okay, see you next time.